I know I can get it.
You know it. Very confident.
Very confident.
You say it so easily. Why?
Because I believe it.
Because, man, you know, and let me tell you why. What she said it with so much confidence the first time. But if you keep going on and on,
Listen, we can't keep interrupting. I mean, if you want...
you got to understand that you're dealing with an image of a 14-year-old child. And this child gonna be out there playing with your old ass and me gonna be in the grave. When she says something, we done told you what's happening. You deal with a little black kid, and let her be a kid. She'll answer with a lot of confidence. Leave that alone.
Richard Williams, the man highlighted in the movie King Richard, is a decorated tennis coach and the father of tennis icons Serena and Venus Williams. He's been going through a divorce with his wife, Lakeisha Williams, for about 6 years now. She's an example of the woman that some of the adult daughters and sons have to watch out for with their aging single parents, single or divorced fathers or mothers. At a certain age, getting married, especially if you already have children, even adult kids, it may not always be a good idea. Some of you with 60, 70, 80-year-old daddies, they've gathered up resources over the past few decades, and you're thinking that you and your siblings will be beneficiaries. But the next thing you know, here comes some woman showing up in the fourth quarter, trying to figure out how can she swindle all the resources and take them away from your father. Either they get the marriage license and they wait, or they'll try to divorce him at old age and take him to court to get the judge to hand over everything to them. You know, all the things that he saved for decades for his own kids. You have women like Lakeisha, they can literally step in and mess up everything, getting your elderly father to fall for them. Luckily, in the case of Serena and Venus, they are super rich and they're more emotionally impacted by this situation than financially. But for average people, and even the older siblings of Venus and Serena, who are nowhere near as successful as them, the wealth swindling can really impact them. Well, now after his wife, Lakeisha Williams, was able to steal his house from him, the Florida home is headed to auction. Somehow this woman managed to lose a house that was already paid off. How? Well, I'll explain that in a second. But first, take a moment to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Click the notification bell for all updates. If you're watching from Compton, California or Palm Beach County, Florida, drop it below in the comments. Shout out to all of y'all. Serena and Venus Williams, their names are being dragged into this circus going on between their father and his wife, Lakeisha Williams. Lakeisha is referenced in the media as the stepmother of Venus and Serena, but she's only 1 year older than Venus and 2 years older than Serena, and about 15 years younger than Richard's oldest daughter. So it's really hard to see a woman that's the same age as you, or even younger than you, as your stepmother. She's more like their dad's wife. The home once lived in by the tennis superstars has been in their family for 27 years. That home is now headed to auction with a $1.42 million starting bid. This comes months after a federal court judge in Florida dismissed Lakeisha's Chapter 13 in bankruptcy court. The house was purchased back in 1995 when the Williams family moved from Compton, California, down to Palm Beach County, Florida. Mr. Williams purchased the 10-acre property for $335,000 back in the 90s, and he owned the property free and clear. Unfortunately, he had his home stolen from him. That's according to his daughters and his lawyers. We'll dive into that part in a moment. But Lakeisha, she stole the home, couldn't maintain it, so it's in worse shape now than what it was in before she took it from him. But still in its condition, the house is still worth nearly $2 million on today's market. Mr. Williams has one young child with Lakeisha. She's his third wife. He married his first wife, Betty, in 1965. When he met Miss Betty Williams, she already had a daughter from her previous marriage. That one daughter became his stepdaughter. Then Mr. Williams had 3 daughters with her and 2 sons. His oldest biological daughter, she's about 58 years old. Her name is Serena Williams. Serena Williams has a history of speaking negatively on Serena and Venus their whole lives, and claims their father left his first family, her mother, because Serena and Venus were stars. For years, Serena Williams insinuated that Richard Williams left his first wife, Betty, to get with Serena and Venus's mother. The problem is a lot of blogs listened when Serena spoke, but no one ever looked at the timeline. I guess Serena's story has always been more entertaining, but not necessarily the whole truth. They don't tell you that Mr. Williams stayed married to his first wife for 7 to 8 years, and they got divorced 6 years before he even met his second wife. Richard Williams divorced Betty in 1973, and he did not meet his second wife, the mother of Venus and Serena, that's Miss Oracene, until 1979. That's a 6-year gap between those relationships. And when Mr. Williams met his second wife, she had already had kids as well from her first marriage, and her 3 daughters became his stepdaughters. The second wife, Oracene, gave birth to Venus in 1980, and she had Serena the following year in 1981. So yeah, the whole narrative that his oldest daughter, Serena Williams, that story that she's been pushing for some years, is not true. Yes, his marriage with his first wife, her mother, it did not work out, but it had nothing to do with his second wife. Because Serena and Venus, they worked hard, became successful, they're sports icons, they have a lot of money, their sister could not control her jealousy over the years, and that's why she's constantly putting out false information in the media against her younger sisters. When Richard's third wife, Lakeisha, rolled around, it wouldn't be a surprise if all of them looked at her questioning her intentions. He was pushing 70 when he met her. The two met in 2009 when he was 67 years old and she was 30. So yeah, all the daughters gave her a side eye and they knew exactly what Lakeisha was up to. Just 1 year after meeting her, Mr. Williams married Lakeisha, and after being married for 2 years, she gave birth to their son. That's Venus and Serena's youngest brother.
But this is my baby right here. At 71 years old, he was born. I want to make sure we're married, though, you know.
By the time their son was 4 years old, the relationship between Mr. Williams and Lakeisha deteriorated, along with the elder's health. He ended up having 2 strokes in 2016. He became disabled, and soon after, their case was in divorce court. Word is Lakeisha then moved on to a thug boyfriend after Mr. Williams, and was trying to do whatever she could to take as much of his resources away from him. This was some years back now, but at the time it was Serena Williams who stepped in and wanted Lakeisha to get out of their family home. We're talking 10 acres of land, a 4-bedroom mansion, the house where Serena and Venus shared so many memories with their other siblings. Serena was attached to the home, and that's why she wanted Lakeisha out of the house. Lakeisha refused to leave the house, so she stayed there and started planning to open up a trucking business in New York instead. She ended up finding a 2012 Volvo truck for sale down in Palm Beach, Florida, this one right here. Called up the owner, his name was David Simon, who said he would sell her the truck for $79,000. David Simon was also a hard money lender. He would only sell the truck to Lakeisha if she was able to put the Williams property up as collateral. Remember, the house was paid off, free and clear deed, but there was only one problem. Lakeisha couldn't use the house as collateral because the house was in Richard's name. And yeah, I think you can already tell where this is going. Lakeisha Williams forged his signature with a quitclaim deed, transferring the house from his name to her name. This happened on January 23rd, 2017. The sale recorded in Palm Beach County for just $10. A couple of weeks later, on her husband's birthday, on February 14th, 2017, Lakeisha and David Simon completed the deal. He sold the truck to her, and she also borrowed $152,000 that same day. Then about 2 months later, in April 2017, David Simon lent her another $22,000, and she didn't stop borrowing there. The next month in May, Lakeisha took out another loan from David Simon for an extra $105,000. She tried to circle back around and borrow an even larger amount later that year in October, but David Simon refused, saying that she didn't have sufficient collateral. The interest payments on the initial $152,000 was $3,381.16 per month alone. That's not accounting for the additional loans that he gave her at a very high interest rate. Lakeisha could not manage the payments, And according to David Simon, the repayments were very, quote, sporadic. According to the terms, she'd have to pay back the full loan amount plus 12% interest within 2 years. To make matters worse, Lakeisha's trucking business was shut down a little over a year later when the Volvo truck was found damaged 1,200 miles away in New York. That's in June 2018. David Simon had to repossess the Volvo after it was involved in an accident in Long Island City, New York, $30,000 in damages. So at that point, it was about 16 months later, after she illegally remortgaged Mr. Williams' house, taking out almost $300,000 in loans from a hard money lender. The truck that she purchased was also gone, and Lakeisha was unable to pay any of the loans. That's when David Simon headed down to the Palm Beach County Court to start working on recouping his money. He told the courts the house was dilapidated, Lakeisha was allowing it to be ruined, wasn't keeping up with the repairs, and said he was worried that the home wouldn't be worth much if she kept it in her possession. David Simon wanted to take control of the house so that he could sell it and not only make his money back, but make a huge profit. And now we see the house headed to auction with a starting bid at $1.42 million. This house could easily sell for $2 million or more. Can you imagine a house selling for $1.5 million or $2 million? Even in its horrible condition, when the original loans was only $279,000 plus a $79,000 truck? In January 2022, Mr. Williams filed a lawsuit against his wife for $1 million, blaming her for losing his Palm Beach home. Miss Lakeisha Williams, she answered the suit, saying that they reconciled, telling the court that they're engaging in weekly relations. She also tried to stop the divorce. Looks like Lakeisha is in huge financial trouble. That's why she's trying to hold on to Mr. Williams and leech off whatever money that he's getting from his rich daughters, Venus and Serena. Mr. Williams right now, he has dementia, and he has a whole legal team around him hired by his daughters to protect him from Lakeisha. Lakeisha, she's also been trying to stall repayments to David Simon, who told the courts that Lakeisha could not afford the repayments. The repayments for all the loans now, they come up to about $10,000 per month, and she breached the original agreement for the first $152,000 loan that was supposed to be paid back within 2 years. Lakeisha filed Chapter 13 bankruptcy in an attempt to save the house. That was dismissed, and now the Williams family home, their first home purchase when they moved to Florida 27 years ago, is on its way to auction. It's a really crazy situation. The Williams family accused Lakeisha of stealing their father's home, but even though Lakeisha admitted to signing his name on the documents, she claimed that Mr. Williams told her to do it due to his poor health. Listen, for all of you adult children out there, this is how a scammer could come around your elderly parents. It can happen to your fathers, your mothers out there, just looking for love and folks taking advantage of them. Yeah, sure, Serena and Venus, they're rich, but what about their other siblings? Just think about how David Simon is going to receive at least a $1 million profit from off of this home. And I'm sure one of those other siblings could use $1 million. But at this point, none of them will benefit from it because it was Lakeisha who accepted those terms of the predatory hard money loan and basically got swindled after she swindled Mr. Williams out of the property in the first place. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Richard Williams is now 80 years old. Lakeisha is 43 years old. What do you think about Lakeisha stealing his house that he had for 27 years? And although the family is suing her for $1 million, do you think they will ever get that money back? Let me know what you think below. Special thank you to Tommy H. I appreciate you, Tommy, as well as our brother Dark Power. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.
No matter how strong you are, it's difficult to take criticism, no matter how false it is. How do you deal with it when people say some awful things?
Let me answer a question I didn't answer. You just asked before that. How did I deal with people when Venus and Serena came into the Tennessee camp? It didn't bother me. You know, I've been beat up so bad when I was a kid, you know, nothing about, I had new shoes to wear, bought from the Goodwill store. Matter of fact, I stopped at the Goodwill store when I got money. So nice to me when I didn't have no money. And I didn't forget that either. And Serena have too. Serena was a millionaire and yet shopping at the Goodwill store. You don't forget where you come from. Don't forget who you are. what bridge got you over there? So how did we deal with the people when they first came in there? We beat the hell out of them. We taught them a lesson. We taught them,